I did promise everyone, the leaders of the British Meditation Society, that all the talks, wherever I go to, that in 5-10 minutes, we become a family. We grow close, we communicate. Yeah, and it's nice to see such lovely smiling faces. It's beautiful. I kept you waiting, sorry.
That's all right. I'm a committed Christian and have been for 30 years. Now, I think you've answered this first question that I thought of. Would it help me to be a better one? Obviously it would, but now I've thought of something else. In meditation, which I try to do, sometimes it's wonderful, and sometimes it's terribly flat. Will it be the same if I try your way?
Yes, good. Now, you are not doing our kind of meditation,
No.
Right, fine.
I haven't, I don't belong, but I want to.
Just sit down, we'll go into those details. The lady has been trying her meditations in her own way, which it's apparent that has not been passed on by a guru to her. She might have found this in various kinds of books and done them accordingly. Am I right? Good. You have found your methods of meditation in books. Books and people, yes. But it was not given to you by an expert guru. Yeah, naturally, yes. So the answers are apparent. Sometimes they are good and sometimes they're not so good because they were found from books. They're found from books. Now, there are methods of meditation. Today you can go to a bookstore and buy 1,000 books on meditation. Right. And you might find one form of meditation very attractive to you. Right. Your mind, as we said, the cunning mind, that could find a pro and con for everything, will tell you that this meditation is nice, it's so easy, I can even do it while I'm busy eating. Yeah, it's easy. And people's minds naturally try and pick out the easiest for themselves. Or otherwise, they try and pick out the most difficult for themselves because they like to be challenged. That is the human mind. Either the easiest or the most difficult, because one comes from laziness, the easiest, the other comes from ego, the most difficult. But is that the proper meditation chosen by the person? Now, if we write a letter to a pharmaceutical firm and ask for the list of medicines, then any child can memorize that whole list of medicines. But it's only the doctor that knows which medicine to give to who and for what purpose. So therefore, meditational practices should always be a highly personal and individualized thing. There are many mass movements that would cater for, that gives out practices, a cure-all for everything. I don't know if you remember the olden time cowboy films, where in this village, this one-horse town, this wagon comes in, Dr. something, and he brings out a box of medicines, one box of medicines, which he sells for everyone. A person that is bald and wants to grow hair, same medicine. Person that has a stomach ache, same medicine. Now, many movements in commercializing and reaching the vastest amount of people, they had to devise a mass distribution system or a cure-all. Now, in spiritual progression, in spiritual unfoldment, this unfortunately, or fortunately rather, does not apply. Every person is a unique person. You will find that even identical twins are not alike. They differ in some characteristic. So each person, being a unique individual person, his meditation has to be individually designed. Now the lady asked the question that sometimes I practice my own form of meditation, sometimes I feel nice, other times nothing happens. Right. That could be due to, we would not say it is so in her case, I would have to go into meditation with her to know what the true thing is, but it could happen, as it does happen in 90% of the time, that the technique might not be right for the person. So if we go to the Guru who knows through not his five senses, but through utilizing other senses, the ability of which he has acquired to utilize, he utilizes those senses beyond the five senses and thereby perceive what is required for that person. And then a particular technique out of thousands of techniques is prescribed to that person. Then that person will receive the maximum benefit. Now, by receiving the maximum benefit also depends upon how the recipient does his or her technique, if it's properly done or not. So therefore, the counselors normally ask them to come back to have the meditations checked, and if there are any errors made, they are guided and helped and counseled. And it is only through this procedure, it is easy, and yet there is some little effort required, where we consciously have to make some effort to get our meditations checked to see if we are doing it right or we're not doing it right, and the communication takes place, which is so, so beautiful. So in your case, I would advise you to be initiated through our British Meditation Society. If you have a keen desire to find that divinity within yourself, if you do have the keen desire, and do approach one of the counselors who will advise you on it, and practice the practice given to you, which would be individually for you, and then see how beautiful you will benefit. May all joy be yours. Blessings. Next.
Guru Raj, with reference to what you were saying a moment ago, is this meditation movement suitable for people who realize that they do have problems, but who don't have a yearning for specifically spiritual growth, who don't want to hear about things like God and so forth, and also who don't want to enter into a relationship with a guru, and who therefore cut themselves off from Guru Shakti by doing that? Mm-hmm. So I think there are lots of people in that category.
Now, what are the points? I'm still a bit with the accent. That's my problem.
Sorry, I come from Oxford, actually.
I didn't get that.
I come from Oxford.
Oh, you're from Oxford?
Yeah. Okay.
I come from a town where they just had some riots, so the Oxford accent is gone there. Yeah, just give me the points of it, yeah.
Okay.
He said something about cutting off from Guru Shakti.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 points. He was concerned about people who might be attracted to start the meditation practices, but these might be people who were not specifically looking for what you might call spiritual development. That is, they might have mental or emotional problems, or in some way they want to improve themselves psychologically, but they're not specifically looking for spiritual growth.
Beautiful.
Or perhaps even trying to avoid terms like that, maybe because in their youth they've been disappointed by religion and gave it up or something of that sort.
I get that
and
one, yes.
That's one point. The second point was people, for instance, who may want to start practices but don't want to enter into the Master Chela, the Guru student.
And would the Guru Shakti be cut off?
Right, and therefore cut themselves off from the Guru Shakti.
Right. Now, if a person denies the existence of a higher power within themselves, they might not want to put on the label of God onto them. They can say a energy, a force, a divinity, whatever. These are labels. And if a person does not accept that, then his meditations might not be as successful as they should be. Fine. Now, the acceptance of a divine power, although intellectually it cannot be verified, but experientially it can be verified. A plant grows in the garden. the ground is right, the minerals in the ground is right, the sun gives the right heat, the water is right, the rain is right, all the physical conditions, all the minerals are right, all the conditions that are necessary for the plant to grow are there. But what factor was there in bringing about just the right amount of combinations to make that flower grow? Because we know if there was too much fertilizer, the flower could have died, the plant could have died. So this infers that there is another self within us, a higher self, some form of energy. You don't need to call it God. Fine. Now, some people, and some movements rather, the people have an inherent desire to live an integrated life. But there are movements in this world that try and divorce spirituality from all meditational practices, which is wrong. Today, what interests a person the least is spirituality. What interests the person the most is materiality. So to sell your movement, to sell your techniques, they shy away from the word God and spirituality and all these things and base everything on materiality. Now, if you are of sick mind, if you have emotional problems, do not go to a guru. Go to a psychiatrist. But when you are prepared to accept that my emotional problems and my physical problems has a basis upon a third aspect of myself, upon a third aspect of the spirit that is residing within myself, and if you accept that, if you accept the three aspects of yourself, the spiritual, the physical, and the mental, then only go to a guru. Then only will you have the earnestness. But if you want to go to a guru just for your physical problems or your psychological problems, the guru's heart is open and compassionate. He does not deny you. And slowly will bring you to the understanding that by this spiritual process, by this scientific technique, you are drawing upon that infinite reservoir of spiritual energy, and you are infusing it in your mind and in your body and creating a balance whereby your physical and emotional problems will disappear. So a good guru will not even tell you if he sees a sincerity in you about the spiritual side of life. He says, oh, this is your problem. Fine. This is your problem. You are a homosexual. Or you have this problem or that problem. And I can see what is your problem. And I shall not even tell you about the spiritual self, but I shall give you a practice whereby the spiritual self is invoked and a greater balance is created in your life, and where your problem will disappear. That a guru does because of love and compassion. But it does make the work of the guru easier. It does make the work of the guru easier if there is an acceptance of some power that is beyond us. It makes the work of the guru easier. Now, if the chela does not believe in the guru, then does he cut himself off from Guru Shakti? Do not believe in the guru, but believe in Guru Shakti. Huh? Okay. Because this guru sitting here in front of you, I was telling them this morning, is worth 1 shilling and 4 pence chemically. And perhaps with inflation, it could be 2 shillings 8 pence. Beautiful. Yes. Do not believe in the Guru, but believe in Guru Shakti, which is a divine power. believe in that divine power. So, when you approach the Guru, right, with first the acceptance that there is something beyond us, then that will make it easier for the Guru, and it will make it easier for you too to understand Guru Shakti. Discard the Guru, but you cannot discard that divine force, and the Guru, the teacher, has the ability to show you how to use the divine force, how to prepare yourself, how to make yourself receptible for that divine force. And then it descends. And that Guru Shakti is synonymous with the law of grace. The grace is there. And why the Shakti energy is there, why the prefix of Guru is added on, is because the Guru has the ability, the inborn ability, the acquired ability to draw on universal forces and specifically direct it to the person sitting over there. So it could help him. Okay. Smile. Beautiful. Lovely. Good. Next. I think it's just about livening up now. Let's have more nice questions. Yes, warming up.
I have 3 questions, Guru Raj, which are 3.
Have a heart. How about one by one?
One by one, okay. First one I've been asked to ask you. What are your views on the possibility of getting in touch with somebody who's died through mediums?
Right. Are the others related to that?
No.
Or are they different?
Shall I tell you the other 2?
Yeah. Okay.
The other one is, what are your views on the Buddhist meditation of mindfulness? And the third one is, when the content of everything is divine and perfect, how does imperfection and suffering and exploitation come out of this?
Beautiful. I'm going to start writing 15 volumes starting now. Those questions require 5 volumes each. Oh yes, they're very beautiful questions. I understood your accent very well. Are you British? No, this is confusing to me. That you find so many English people, but at different places they have a different way of speaking. And someone said to me, I heard it said, "Put the wooden fall." Put the wooden fall. I believe it means close the door. Yeah, it's surprising. Anyways, I must get used to that. I've got 25 days for it. Huh? I hope I can. Right. The question there. The first one was that should one use mediums to get in touch with people on the other side? Now that's quite a spooky question. Why, firstly, the question should remain that are there people on the other side? Second question, why should we get in touch with them? Third question, is the medium qualified enough or not? 3 questions there in your one question. Right. The human body, the physical body, has a counterpart, which is the subtle or etheric body. That counterpart in Sanskrit is called Sukshma Sharira. The physical body is Sthula Sharira. In Sanskrit, the other body is called Sukshma Sharira. Sukshma Sharira exists, we can call it etheric body, exists after it has discarded the physical body. And the etheric body exists for many purposes, for the formulation, for the preparation of being reincarnated again, that is, if you believe in reincarnation. But nevertheless, there is the existence of the etheric body, which could be there for a certain time. This goes into other questions. Right, let us not digress. Now, A person wants to get in touch with Auntie Matilda that has passed away. Why does Joe want to get in touch with Auntie Matilda who has passed away? It is because of Joe's intense attachment to her. Right. Joe's intense attachment to Auntie Matilda could be for many reasons. And one of the reasons is not necessarily to know how Auntie Matilda's faring there. Waltzing Matilda could have been still waltzing there. She might still be waltzing and having a good old time. Huh? Right. But it is because of the basic insecurity of Joe that he wants to be in touch with Auntie Matilda. Right. He wants to elicit some information for himself because of his insecurity. And he has not acquired the ability to get in touch with Auntie Matilda, so he goes to someone in the middle, which is the medium. Now, I have seen mediums and mediums and mediums, and most of the mediums I have seen are very, very insecure people themselves, who are so troubled with their nervous systems, their physiological systems, their biological systems, and through their mind, their whole bodies suffer more psychosomatic diseases than perhaps could be put together in Guy's hospital. That's one of your hospitals, huh? Right. So now here, look at the process. Insecure Joe goes to insecure medium to find about insecure Matilda. Now where is the sense? Didn't I say earlier that the most scarce commodity is common sense? Insecure Joe goes to an insecure medium to find about insecure Matilda. Right. Now, how does the medium work? Now the medium can work in many ways. I could teach you within 2 months how to read a person's thoughts. Very easy. It is an elementary siddhi. Very easily done. Anyone can learn it in 2 months if they have the yearning and if they are sincere enough. They can learn that. Now, the medium has acquired the ability that while you are sitting in the chair and thinking about Auntie Matilda, right, the medium picks up your thoughts and tells you that, oh, Auntie Matilda is keeping very well and sends her regards. You get astounded that, what a medium. She has made contact on the other side. Meanwhile, what she has really done is only read your mind, and when you leave 10 pounds in the plate. Yeah. Another business. This world is based nothing upon business, business, business. Everyone wants to make, like the Americans say, a fast buck. Yes, yes. Yeah. And they're quite fast at it too. I said, I promise you this, life, love and laughter. It must go together. Yes. So, those are how mediums work. Now, let us get back to Matilda. Let us assume that you believe in reincarnation. After a person passes away from this body and is living there in that etheric body, it is so busy. It is so busy there. Firstly, that etheric, that subtle body has to weigh up the complete life it has lived on this earth, the complete, all its actions. It has to weigh the pros and cons. It has to formulate. It has to sift out and boil down all the happenings of that life into a single formula. 2 and 2 makes 4, 4 and 4 makes 8, 8 and 8 is 16, 16, 16, 32. Right. Now, it has to arrive at 32 through all the processes of addition, subtractions and multiplication. In other words, in that state, Auntie Matilda is analyzing its entire life that it has lived in relationship to all the lives It had lived before the past life. So that when it reincarnates again, it will come forth as the sum totality of all the lives lived, including the one that has just preceded. So Auntie Matilda is busy reviewing, formulating, and finding ways and means to be born again. Now, the biggest job it has there is to find the right parents. Now we think, yes, to find the right parents. Now we think that we choose our children, but our children has chosen us. Yes, our children has chosen us. The incarnating soul is waiting for the right combination of genes and chromosomes. And these various combinations must just be the right medium so that Joe can be born. Right. So Auntie Matilda there, or Auntie Matilda can be born. So Auntie Matilda there is so busy, it has no time to come through a medium to say hello to Joe. Yeah. These are false vagaries. These are false teachings. And if, for example, one can be in touch with a spirit, with a disembodied spirit, why be in touch with a disembodied lower spirit when one can be in touch with the divine spirit? Why dabble in spookism? What purpose can it serve? A disembodied spirit is a spirit that has not found rest. That spirit is in so much turmoil and turbulence. Are you going to get the guidance, mental guidance, from a psychiatrist who requires a psychiatrist himself? Huh? No. If you want guidance, you go to a sane person, a balanced person. Now, a disembodied spirit is not a balanced spirit. It's an unstable spirit. And why use such a spirit as a guide when the greatest guide of all, divinity itself, can be your guide? Why take the guidance of a dead spirit when the living spirits are alive that can guide man to a betterment of humanity? To a betterment of himself and of humanity. Fine. That was one question. What was the second part? About Buddhism.
What are your views? Yes, Buddhist meditation of mindfulness.
Buddhist meditation of mind?
Mindfulness.
Mindfulness. It's a very good meditation. Now, all these meditations are very good, right? We do not condemn anyone. We do not condone anyone. If you take up Buddhist medicines, you have Buddhist meditations, you have leanings towards those teachings, Buddhistic teachings, and by all means do follow them. But I would say one thing, do have an open mind. Have an open mind. The way of trial and error is there whereby one could find a solution. If you want to go to Birmingham, right, you might take a road that has a lot of traffic, a lot of robots in it. Fine. It'll cause you delays. It'll make you feel irritable, having to stop and start, and the roads are bumpy and the roads are not nice. You can take that road, or you can take the highway. I don't know the names of your roads, so just use motorway. You can take the motorway that takes you directly to Birmingham. Right. So the choice is yours. Man has free will, he must choose himself. Now you mentioned Buddhist meditation of mindfulness, so naturally you must have studied it a bit, and you studied it because you had some inclination for it, some attraction towards it, and if you are doing it, and if you find it beneficial to you, by all means do pursue. But at the same time, always have an open mind. Open mind. And it is only the open mind that blossoms like an open flower. The bud itself, although so beautiful, it can be worth more if it opens. Yes, yes. Okay, third question.
When the content of everything is divine and perfect, how does the imperfections and sufferings and exploitation come into the world in the first place?
That is beautiful. That is a question. If the Creator is perfect, why has, to put it in a nutshell, if the Creator is perfect, why has He created imperfection? Right. If the Creator is that of joy, love, then why is there suffering? This has been the greatest question that has puzzled all philosophers throughout this world. Now, from the level of the Creator, there is no suffering. From the level of the Creator, there is only joy. From the level of the Absolute, only joy abounds. But from the level of the relative, there is the suffering. From our viewpoint, we see suffering. But from divine viewpoint, there is no suffering. If we stand at the ocean, we find the waves very turbulent. Fine. But if we go up into the sky, a mile up, that same ocean will seem calm. So it depends. Suffering or no suffering depends upon where we stand. From the angle, from the value of the Absolute, there is no misery and no suffering. But from the angle and value of the relative, everything is a suffering and everything is a misery. So therefore, by the practices of our meditation, we learn to be in touch with the Absolute. We learn to live in the Absolute, and thereby we do not get affected by any kind of suffering in the world, because we have now acquired that strength. We can see any kind of suffering objectively. We can see the true worth of it. We can see the changeless amidst the change. And then we can truly say, for this too will pass away. Then we understand the meaning of that injunction. Right. Now that was the practical method. Right. What are the mechanics involved? What are the mechanics in how the Absolute, became the relative? Or did the Absolute really become the relative? What is the difference between the Absolute and the relative? And what are the mechanics of making the Absolute and the relative join hands? Now, can we make the Absolute and the relative join hands? No, because they are forever joining hands. If you can, man must never separate the Absolute from the relative. If you can picture yourself a vast sheet of, say, blue color. At the one end, it's a deep blue. At the other end, gradually it fades, until at the other end it becomes a very fine blue. So, that is the relationship. All existence in the universe is nothing but vibration. And when vibration becomes solidified, to use an analogy, as vapor becomes ice. Vapor is in the subtle form and ice is in the grosser form. So in that way, in this blue expanse of paint we talked about now, at the grossest level, we see the deep blue, that is the relative, that is the creation, while at the subtle level of the finer blue, you were not making noises with the high heels. So in the expanse of the blue paint, at the gross level where the blue was deep, there the vibrations were compacted, like the solid ice. And at the subtler level, where the blue was so fine, there the vibrations existed at the subtle level like vapor. Fine. So there is no differentiation between the relative and the Absolute. They are the same. The Absolute and relative is the same, but the difference lies in the degree of intensity. Now, when it comes to suffering, now from the absolute point of view, when we through our meditational practices have contacted the absolute, and we see that here in this flower there is the invisible sap, here in this glass there is that invisible power that keeps all the molecules of this glass together. When we can realize that by contacting the absolute through our meditational practices, then we would cease to see the suffering. Suffering would not then exist. But that is only when we reach the absolute. But until we are in the relative, suffering is there for us. If I stub my toe, it is going to hurt. I cannot deny it. My toe hurts. Fine. Good. What are the mechanics there? Now, if God or divinity, people don't like the word God. I don't know why. It's such a beautiful word. And if you spell God the other way around, dog, there's God even in dog, never mind in man. And yet man does not want to appreciate him. I don't know. Nevertheless, from the absolute there's no suffering. So now, if divinity is perfection itself, how can the perfect create that which is imperfect? That has been the problem of philosophers. If you do not agree with creation, now who creates? Who creates? An artist creates a poem. Why? It wants to express itself. A musician composes a piece of music, a symphony. Why? Because it wants to express himself. Right? An artist does a painting. Why? Because he wants to express himself. Now, who requires expression? It is only the imperfect that requires expression to perfect himself. Because by the means of expression, it wants to perfect himself. But in the case of divinity, we cannot say that divinity is imperfect, because if he was imperfect, then only would he require to perfect itself by creation, by expression. But if divinity is perfect, then it would not want to create, it does not want to express. So what happens here? That divinity does not create. We use the word for convenience sometimes in theology. Divinity does not create, divinity manifests. By that we mean that it is the nature of divinity to manifest. It is the nature of divinity to manifest as fire manifests heat. It is the nature of the fire to give off heat. The fire does not create heat. It is the nature of fire to give heat. And how can heat be separated from the fire? It is its nature. They are part and parcel of itself. If there was no heat, there would have not been fire. If there was no fire, then there would have not been heat. God exists because you exist, and you exist because God exists. One is an integral part and parcel of the other. The manifest and the manifester is but one. And we only find the differentiation when we view it from different angles. We can look at this expanse of blue color. When we see the blue color in its grossest form, the deep blue, we know that is the manifestation, the gross level. And when we see the same color in its subtle form, the light, fine blue, then we know it is there in the subtle form as the manifester. Manifester and the manifest. Right. So, in this way, manifestation is there if you do not accept creation. But now, suffering, where that thing still rears its head, that why must the manifester, who is pure bliss, manifests something which is not bliss. The explanation to this can only be given in the form of an analogy. The sun shines. It is through the heat of the sun that the water turns into vapor and it's taken up to the sky in vapor form. The vapor gathers together and forms thick clouds. It is the very clouds that obscures the sun from shining through, and we see darkness downstairs. Do you see the combination and the mixture? So the concept of purity and impurity, the concept of joy and suffering, is a concept of man and not the concept of the divine. It is the concept of the manifest, but not the concept of the manifester. As we have seen in the analogy, that it is the sun itself that draws the vapor and forms the cloud to obscure itself. Now, does this sun require obscuration? And who sees the sun to be obscured? Is those that are down here. We say there is suffering. We see the suffering. And yet, living a relative life, we feel the suffering. And we have the ways and means of alleviating the suffering. And the ways and means is to meditate the British Meditational Society way. What is the... Oh, it's 12:30. Shall we...
Thank you very, very much for your I wanted to make just a brief announcement. The first announcement is that, believe it or not, we start on time and we end on time. The second announcement is that if there's anyone here who is not involved in doing these meditation practices and has an interest in hearing more about it, or who knows that they want to begin the practices, whatever, we have some counselors that will be available in the annex back here. They can come after we've broken up the meeting and meet with the counselors back here, find out about introductory lectures and courses that are being offered. So this is the annex, and I think we won't be meeting back here until 2:30, is that right? Start at 2:30. Right. So the doors will be open again at 2 o'clock so that everyone can be in and be settled by 2:30. And we'll continue then at 2:30. Thank you very much.
Could we end with a short prayer?
One moment, please. One moment. Yes?
Could we end with a very short prayer for peace?
Yes. We'll end with a short prayer.
Om Dev Shanti Rantarikshagvam Shanti Prithivi Shanti Rapa Shanti Roshadaya Shanti Vanaspataya Shanti Vishwadeva Shanti Brahma Shanti Sarvagvam Shanti Shanti Reva Shanti Sama Shanti Redi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti